I turned off the county road, rolled past the mesquite, and my headlights landed on a picture that didn't belong to real life. My house, the one I framed nail by nail, the place where my little girl's height marks climbed a hallway stud, was folded like a soda can, and a steel boom lay straight through the kitchen like a spear. There wasn't a siren. There wasn't a person. Just a plastic sign on my fence whispering danger, site, under review. I killed the engine, and the world went quiet, except for that slap of loose tape in the wind. And for a second, I thought maybe a propane tank blew. Maybe a freak gust ripped the roof, because that makes more sense than a stranger's crane napping in your cookware. Then I caught the faded paint on the lattice. Blue Mesa Partners, the developer Sagebrush Meadows Association hired to build their shiny courts 2 lots over which would be their business if I hadn't spent good money to live outside their HOA line on purpose. My daughter was snoring in the back seat with a coloring book open to a dragon with pink teeth. So I stood there in gravel heat, still rising off the hood. And I asked the empty night what a man is supposed to do when his kitchen is a job site and nobody left a number. The next morning, the crane looked bigger, like a dead dinosaur sunning itself, and I kept repeating a sentence because saying it out loud holds you to it. I am not in their HOA, I checked. I paid a surveyor. The old barbed wire is the line. I drove to their office anyway, because sometimes you go to the place with the koi pond and the golf cart shade, and the glass doors. You stand in front of the receptionist whose name tag says Nancy, and you try being polite. "Do you have an appointment?" she asked. "No, ma'am. I have a crane in my kitchen." She smiled like the end of a commercial and slid me a QR code. "Submit a request online. You know what I mean." They wanted me out the door before my shadow cooled. So I asked for the contractor's name and their insurer. She said she didn't have access. I asked. "Who did?" She said the board. I asked when the board was available. She said the board would contact me soon. Yeah, that happened. I went home and hit the city phone. Tree code, compliance building inspection. The county line that rings long enough to make you question your choices, and the few folks who answered promised to escalate, which is a polite word for maybe. That night, I wrote a demand letter, sent it certified to Sagebrush, to Blue Mesa. To a law firm I found 3 projects back, attached photos, dropped a link to a folder called Crane That Ruined Sunday, pressed send, and listened to coyotes laugh like drunk uncles out behind the Palo Verdes. Nobody replied. But someone did drive down my road. 2 nights later, lights off until the last second. 2 vehicles, 1 unmarked pickup and 1 white sedan with plates too clean. They stopped at my fence and stayed on their side. Like that made them neighbors, and 2 men stepped out, one with a haircut. You get when you want the world to know, you lift the other with a soft belly and expensive boots, and a smile he practiced in a mirror. "Evening," he said. "You Colt Parker. Depends who's asking." "No need to get messy," he said. "Accidents happen. Responsible folks handle it quiet like. No press, no court, no bad blood. People get lost out here sometimes. Long roads, no lights." I let the floodlight buzz and didn't blink. "You done?" He shrugged, and they left dust hanging where their words had been. Sheriff came 40 minutes later. Took my statement with a pen that seemed tired. Logged it as verbal only. "No crime drive safe, sir." And when his taillights disappeared, fear drained out, and something stiff took its place. Because I remembered the little lunchbox vault above my pantry, the solar trickle on the fence cams, the 2 drives wrapped like candy bars in thermal foam labeled fishing tackle. I climbed the broken pantry, shouldered a panel, popped the box, and there they were, waiting like good dogs. It took hours to scrape corrupted files, but Friday at 6:18 p.m. snapped into place. Boom, swinging too far over the wall. No stabilizer pads, no spotters, an operator pacing and yelling into a radio. Then physics doing what physics does. The whole lattice peeling off its base and cartwheeling through my roof dust like a curtain closing. An hour later, a woman in a tan suit and a bun, tight enough to whistle, marched into frame, with two men pointed at my fence cam, like she could turn it off with a finger, and barked paperwork out of the trailer signage down. Nobody talks to press. Nobody calls the cops. The pin on her lapel flashed. Sagebrush Meadows board. I paused. Took a breath I had to borrow, made 3 fresh copies. One in a fireproof box. One on a drive tucked inside a dog food bag. One in the cloud behind a password. Ugly enough to scare a thief, then I called a lawyer. I trust Quinn Delgado, who loves negligence cases, like some folks love puzzles. She said that's a state safety board bonfire. You ready to file? I said to. Not yet. I want an inspection first, real one. She said, give me a sunrise. I sent a single still to KRVN. 8, the local station that eats drone footage for breakfast. The crane mid-fall. That pin glinting. Captioned when private power hops the fence. Who picks up the pieces they said we wanted? I said. Hold, and then my yard filled with vests and clipboards. State Safety County, fire contractor licensing. They measured angles, cored my slab, and pulled a half-melted logbook that showed no maintenance for 7 weeks. While they were drilling concrete, Quinn filed notice letters. Shotgun style, copied the county supervisor. The mayor, a reporter who wins trophies without smiling. And when KRVN aired the first piece, folks inside Sagebrush started emailing like their thumbs were on fire. We had no idea they wrote. We were told it was all permitted, and a board member named Trevor slid me a manila folder at a diner that burns the coffee on purpose inside, were emails and 2 maps that didn't match the board version. Kept the crane inside their line. The contractor version flexed the line 15 feet onto mine, he said. I didn't know they changed it. I didn't sign up for this, and I believed him, because fear has a smell when it sits this close. That's when the twist rolled in. A deputy at my gate with a complaint signed by board president Lydia Cross, an audio clip of a guy who sounds sort of like me, saying things I don't say, the kind of sloppy fake that could still ruin your week if a judge hears it before coffee. I poured the deputy a glass of water, slid him a folder with GPS from my truck, showing I was 40 miles away when the clip was recorded. Phone records showing no service at the house, and a thermal video of a contractor's security guy behind my barn at 2 in the morning reading from a script, into a mic hoodie up like a turtle. The deputy watched, closed the folder, and said, not from us, meaning I shouldn't expect more complaints from the county, and KRVN ran a second report. Board president accused of manufacturing threats, and the comments turned into a bonfire that could be seen from the next zip code. 2 nights before the hearing, someone slipped through my side gate, went straight to the shed, grabbed a flash drive I'd labeled master copy, like I wanted them to burn it in a coffee can, and kicked Ash under the shelf. Which was cute because the owl statue with chipped paint in the corner has a lens for a left eye. And I called an old tech reporter in Vegas who works national now, gave her the whole package, told her to play it live, 10 minutes into opening arguments show. Don't tell, and yeah, she warned me people would call it sensational. I said, Good, let them explain the sensation. Court smelled like lemon oil and nerves. Lydia walked in with sunglasses on her head and a walk that said, "Late fees are for other people." Her two lawyers talked about me like I was a jealous handyman with a drone and a grudge. They even hinted I sabotaged the crane. Someone behind me snorted. Might have been Quinn, then the clerk rolled a monitor in, like it was a middle school film day, and the judge rubbed his temples. Like he knew lunch was a rumor, Quinn asked to submit supplementary evidence cleared for public release and independently verified proceed. The judge said, and the room watched the fall. The orders, the night visit at my fence, the staged audio behind my barn, the break-in with the coffee can. Glow and thermal, and when the video went dark, the quiet had a weight to it. The judge leaned forward and said, "Let the record reflect that this is the clearest chain of wrongdoing I have seen in years." He denied a recess by afternoon. Pieces of our case were kicked toward criminal review evidence, tampering, conspiracy, intimidation, and the defense looked like they'd just tasted a lemon. I didn't celebrate. That's not how it works in your chest. Justice tastes like metal, like the breath you've been holding too long, and the weeks after felt like walking out of deep water. Lydia traded the bun for County Orange, Blue Mesa swapped logos. Like wearing a hat changes your name. Sagebrush voted to dissolve the HOA. The koi pond turned into a dust bowl with mirrors. The court sit half-poured and humming in the heat. We rebuilt, went vertical steel frame glass, with solar baked in, and a little tower room in the southwest corner, where I drink coffee and watch jackrabbits race. Folks joke it looks like a fire lookout. I call it making sure. And every morning the sun comes up on the same fence line that got tested and stayed straight. People ask why I went public, why I didn't take a quiet check, why I dragged a neighborhood into my mess. And here's the part I won't cut for time. When someone decides their rules cross your line because it's convenient, you either let the line smudge or you scribe it deeper. I'm not special. I'm a dad with a toolbox and too many labels. But I saved backups, and I refused to whisper. And sometimes that is the whole difference. If you've dealt with a board that forgot where its authority ends, if a developer treated your porch like a suggestion, I want to hear it. Where do you draw the line? What's fair? Neighbor stuff, and what's control in khakis? If you serve on a board, tell us what pressure looks like from your side. Drop your take in the comments. Who was right? Who was wrong? And what would justice look like where you live hit? Like if you think cameras beat threats. Subscribe if you think sunlight beats fog. And share this with that one friend who keeps every receipt just in case, because some fights look like land, but they're really about principle, and principle out here, under this big sky, still counts.